All right, guys. I just woke up and I see that Andrew Wilson was on Pierce Morgan again. I love when he goes on these. I like Pierce. I watch a lot of Pierce, and we review a lot of Pierce because YouTube lets you. He lets you. You get you don't get any copyright strikes or anything when you play Pierce's content. So I appreciate that. So we're gonna watch this and try to kill this freaking scorpion boss for an hour. Only have an hour. That's how long it is. So I'm not gonna pause a lot. But it's transformative enough because it's just a tiny little screen and we're playing the game. We have the game audio going, and I'm gonna be trying to focus on this boss, but let's get into it. Where's the video? All right, Andrew. What do you think, Andrew?
Stand that I can take things that are happening socially, point to the worst of them, even if I don't agree with them, to use that as an example
I think that lady's like conservative lady.
of why it's bad, why think bad. These libs talk out of both sides of their mouth. Aren't you just basically admitting that you're a Hollywood prostitute at that point? Well, gee, who could have predicted this? Who could have predicted that women who are in positions of power may act overtly emotional just based on, well, even the hormones in
That
their
lady
body?
just had a
You're like a little
spaz.
petulant
Yes or
child.
no?
You're-
Yes or no?
The
Yeah,
latest episode
spasm.
of Call Her Daddy features a lengthy interview with Oscar-winning actress Charlize Theron.
Yeah,
Entitled
and
I Don't Need a
terrible.
Man. In it, Miss Theron explains how she reacts to people criticizing her for being a single mum.
I like want to just like look.
Bro, she says fuck like every 3 seconds in this interview. I don't know if like she's trying to be cool or something, but I hate when stupid people are rich. I hate it. And she's an idiot.
Look at them and just be like, do you know how fucking great it is to live exactly how I want to
I don't
live?
want to fight long.
To experience motherhood exactly how I wanted to experience it. And I know the next thing they say is like, well, that's not fair on your kids. Can I tell you something?
Shut
that will
up,
be their story
bitch.
to tell. I can't tell you. I can only tell you that this is the best way that I know how to be a mother to them. And maybe they'll grow up and tell their story, and I will respect that.
Well, she also wanted audiences to know how liberating it is for her children not to have a father.
I love that I don't have
And how liberating it is to have sex with a 26-year-old Nigerian guy. Like she actually said that. I'm not using Nigerian guy as a euphemism for another word that I'm not allowed to say.
to run every fucking thing by a guy. I love that I don't have to, well, oh my God, I fucking love that I don't have to do any of that stuff. And my children, we joke, listen, I think you can tell, like, this is how I raise my kids.
Yeah.
Like, right? We don't hide this shit.
But don't worry, while Charlize
Your kids
doesn't
are
think
being
husband or
destroyed.
father is important in life, she hasn't given up on men altogether.
I found
Is
this
it
freedom
right
in my
here?
40s
Where
where
was-
I'm like, oh my God. So I just want to say this in perspective. I've probably had 3 one-night stands in my entire life.
Okay.
But I did just recently fuck a 26-year-old, and it was really fucking amazing.
Fuck yes.
Yes, and I've never done that. And I was like, oh, this is great. Okay.
Let me just say that 26-year-old is the luckiest fucking man walking on this goddamn planet. He's walking different
such
today.
trash.
Knowing. Oh my God.
He for sure is not, but thank you.
No, he is.
Well, the episode's been
They're
viewed by
such
nearly a million
trash human
people so
beings.
far. Reactions have been divided between
Garbage
those who
human
celebrate
beings. Why do
Charlize
they
as,
get
quote,
to
a
be
powerful
famous?
badass, epitome of a strong woman fighting against the evil patriarchy, and others who, in equally strident language, view the whole episode as yet another example of modern feminist
we
media
trying here?
denigrating the role of men at every given opportunity, all of which makes it a good starting point for a lively debate. Well, joining me for this battle of the sexes, host of the Crucible podcast, Andrew Wilson, who I could imagine was visibly shuddering as he listened to those clips. Jedediah Byler, who's the host of the Jedediah Byler Show, commentator and author of the Case for Cancel Culture, Ernest Owens, and the editor of the User Mag newsletter, Taylor Lorenz, well, welcome to all of you. And Jedediah, welcome to you especially because you're making your uncensored debut. We always like debutantes. I'm always astonished.
Thank you very much, Peirs.
Always astonished when people come back for more. But thank God they do. And thank God Andrew Wilson does. Andrew, your thoughts on Charlize Theron? She doesn't need a man. She likes banging 26-year-olds when she feels like it. You don't need fathers in life. You just need a strong, badass woman.
Well, you know, it's really funny. The reason nobody cares really very much when a 40-year-old attractive woman has sex with some random young man is because it's not impressive. It's impressive when men can bang young women because most men can't bang young women, but most older women can bang young men. So it's just not an impressive accomplishment. Of course, these are the same women who will screech because, you know, Leonardo DiCaprio decides that he wants to change up, you know, at 25 years old, any of the broads he has hanging around. But this is not an impressive accomplishment. All a woman needs to do to get laid
is open her
go
legs
somewhere where there's men and offer it up. It's not the case for men. So it's an unimpressive accomplishment on its face. As to the rest of what she's saying, this is just normal tripe, right? Her kids are the ones who are going to get punished. They're always the ones who get punished. We can look at the data for
kids aren't
outcomes
gonna get
on
punished.
children who are
People are
raised in
gonna
single
think
mother
that's
homes.
cool.
It's not good. It's not good for their
People
mental
are
health.
fucking
It's
retarded
not. And by the way, the
these
rates of abuse from having strange men around skyrocket. Terrible idea, and it's exactly the wrong kind of propaganda to be pushing.
All right, Taylor Lorenz, isn't it just a factual reality of life that women are predominantly
He already
happier
always
with a
dodged
man
that.
by their side, and children are predominantly better off in life with a present father?
I think, listen, children are better off in life when they have a loving household, and not all of those households have fathers. I mean, there are lesbian parents, there are, you know, different types of arrangements. I think it's important for kids to have different figures in their life who they can look up to. And, you know, I think it's really important to expose kids to all different types of figures, but that doesn't have to be, you know, that doesn't have to be like a man, a cisgender man that's standing around all the time. There's plenty of terrible fathers out there too. So, yeah, I think it's great
What
that
up,
that the
Robert?
child is growing up in a loving household, and
Oh, sorry, it's so
hopefully,
loud.
you know, she'll expose the child to lots of different types
Yeah, but
of.
can you acknowledge that
Yeah,
we
lots
have
of
now
different
been
men.
studying this
Hopefully she'll
phenomenon of
expose
single
the child to
motherhood
lots
for
of different
years
men.
and years and years, and that the outcomes for children of single mothers
Random
tend to be
men coming
terrible
in.
in comparison to the
She's
outcomes
rich,
of children
so,
without them. Can you
you
just
know, the kids-
acknowledge that that is true?
Kid's gonna be fucked
So
up
I
anyway.
think what you're talking about are studies.
I'm asking
that,
a question. Don't run from the question.
Are you gonna
Yes or
let
no?
me-
You can.
are
I
you
want
gonna
you to
let-
acknowledge with a yes or no, then a qualifier.
Are you gonna-
Yes or
are you gonna
no?
let
You
me-
Isn't it
answer,
true
then you
that
explain your
outcomes for
answer.
children,
You don't
when
explain
they're
your
raised
answer
by single
before you
mothers,
answer the
tend to be
question,
worse than
lady.
those with a mother and a father in the house. Yes or no? Then give me your answer.
So I'd love to respond if you stop talking over me.
Go ahead.
Anyway, most single mothers are not Charlize Theron with millions and millions and millions of dollars. So when you look at studies like that, a lot of it has to do with the economic opportunities that a lot of single mothers have. You know, women make less than men as a whole. They're subject to more sexism and discrimination. So it can often be more challenging for them to raise
So
a child
yes.
alone.
So the answer is yes.
No, the answer is Charlize Theron.
It sounds like
is
you just said that the answer
average-
is yes. The answer, according to
for
you
any
just
single
now, is
parent.
yes.
No, any single
And then you just
How
make
did he hit me with
excuses
that?
for
He
it.
never
You're
hits me
like,
with
yes,
that.
but-
Taylor,
so
this is
because
not-
women are
on right
oppressed.
now. This is so weird. What you're like shouting
Taylor,
at me.
can I jump
You
in
know,
here,
well,
please?
you're
shouting at me. Oh my
Okay, let's
God,
bring,
he's
hang on,
shouting
time
at
out. Time out. Let's bring in Jedediah.
Taylor, this is not rocket science. First of all, you lost me at cis male. You just meet a guy, just a man, right? We don't need all these terms, these nonsensical,
I
ridiculous
tore up
terms
half of
that
his health in the
modern
first
leftists
couple
have come up
seconds
with.
of the
It's just a man. Children do better when there is a mom
Oh,
and
yeah,
there is a dad. And
Andrew's-
the reason is that men and women are completely different.
I thought Andrew was gonna like go at this chick because I know I've seen this chick before. She's a conservative lady. I just realized the place that I've seen her before is on Andrew's show. Andrew's like interviewed and talked to her and went on her show. I think he likes her. I don't know who. Not. I don't mean like. I think he thinks she's cool as a conservative lady, but I don't know who she is.
different. They bring very different things to the table, and children need the role model of a mom and a dad, not just people around. Sure, you can have aunts, you can have uncles, you can have friends, but we're talking about the two individuals that are
Okay, you got to jump a little early
Let
so
me
he
just
doesn't
ask you
jump
this
away.
question. Wait, I'm not done yet. You complained that Andrew interrupted you, and now you just interrupted me. I'm not done yet. Charlize Theron, you're right. She is rich. She has a ton of money. But what example do you think she's sending to young women everywhere that this is somehow empowering, that you should strive, by the way, you should strive to be the single mom because you don't have to deal with a guy. You don't have to answer to a man. Oh, isn't that so wonderful? And guess who'll pay the price? My kid, she even says, my kids can tell their story. How unbelievably selfish of her to say, my children will one day to get to tell a story that they had no father because I decided that I just wanted to do this myself. Me, myself, and my money. Is that the message that we should be sending to young women?
They're lesbians. They shouldn't be able to raise children. You need a man. What about women that
We're
raise
not talking about Taylor. No one said what should be
single
allowed. I'm not talking about.
Well, tell you what I find strange. What I find strange is I know Charlize a bit when she was dating Sean Penn, and thought she was very nice, but she was always very elegant. If you interviewed her, her whole thing was high-end,
classy,
elegant, you know, all the highest-end advertising and so on. And then you see her there in this podcast, and she's like effing and blinding, talking about banging 26-year-olds. Very, very different, Ernest, to the Charlize Theron I thought I knew. I'm not saying it's good, bad, or whatever, but I do wonder if it was a male movie star sitting on a sofa
talking
brazenly
like that,
boasting about banging.
Yo, I just fucked a 26-year-old. It was so fucking good. Oh yeah.
50. If a 50-year-old male star was
it'd be horrible.
Boasting about banging 26-year-old girls, right? And he was boasting about not needing a woman in his life, not needing a mother, all these kind of things, but in reverse, I don't think you'd be approving of this, Ernest. Tax day has passed, but for millions of Americans, that's where the trouble begins. The IRS is now ramping up enforcement for those who missed the April deadline or still owe back taxes. Well, today's sponsor, Tax Network USA, can still help. If your books are a mess,
I messed up
you're
the opening.
or if you're a business owner, Tax Network USA.
Tax Network USA.
specializes in
We're
cleaning
watching
up
Pierce's
financial
content,
chaos
so we'll
and
watch
getting
his
you back
ads.
on track quickly. They say the IRS is applying enforcement pressure at levels they've never seen before. But even after the deadline, it's not too late to take control. The consultation is completely free. Acting now could stop
I think I want to
penalties,
switch to Cloud
threatening
Step.
letters, and surprise levies before they escalate.
But I can't.
1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/peers. That's tnusa.
I'm just gonna pop potions and
let Tax Network USA make the next move, not the IRS.
I mean, for starters, I'm all for if it's about consent and respect. They do it all the time.
Oh my
A lot
God.
of older men do it
I
all
don't
the
care
time
what this
on
fucking
media,
person
on
has
social
to
media,
say.
in interviews. It's not an actually uncommon thing. I think the reason why there's a lot of actual shock and awe over Charlize Theron because a lot of women actually her age don't feel the liberty to do that on a public
yeah, I don't know if
platform,
you're a
that's why
dude or
we're
a
talking
chick.
about her.
Shut
We
up.
don't talk about men who do it often on here because it's so norm. I mean, if you look
It's
at
so
who's in
norm.
politics currently right
What
now,
does that
they
mean?
was doing it their entire career before they got
They
to the
was
White
doing
House.
it?
So it's not that much of a shock. You know, there's a guy who got
Why do people like this get to be on shows? You can't speak. You're garbage at speaking. Why are you an orator or a debater on a panel? Go learn English. Man, woman, dude thing. I don't even know what gender this person is.
elected president.
Yeah, and you screamed
said
bloody
crap
murder about it.
democracy and got elected. And so
And you screamed bloody murder about it. What are you
Ernest, the
talking
point
about?
is-
Hang on. You liberals said that was the most horrible thing. He was a terrible role model. How could he? And here's Charlize Theron is saying this, and you're like, she's an empowered boss babe, Andrew. Come on.
See, if I talk over him, Peirs
You gonna let him talk over me? You gonna? Have you ever been on Uncensored? That's how it goes.
Come on,
No, I
Ernest.
wasn't done talking, actually.
You
Can I
interrupt.
actually-
Oh, man.
You can, Ernest.
You don't make
Okay,
long,
So,
drawn out.
what I was getting at is that there is a double standard. And I think, honestly, like I said before, I don't know what liberal he's talking about, but I was not a liberal that said that Trump talking
I was not
about
liberal to say
grabbing by the
that.
pussy was the worst thing ever said, because there's a
That
lot of other
wasn't
things
that
he
bad.
said that I believe is far worse and actually should cause more attention. But that being said, I just feel like the only reason why we're talking about it is because
You're an
women like
idiot.
Charlize Theron often don't do this on a normal. So it feels abnormal, and that's why we're discussing it.
Wherever the road takes you,
Hold on,
Chevy
ad.
is ready to drive you forward.
We
With
gotta watch
pure
the ad
power
because I'm in the
unleashed
middle of the fight.
And future-forward technology.
I can't change it.
Every path leads to
We
new
gotta listen to a
possibilities.
Chevy commercial.
Chevrolet. Together,
Damn
let's
it.
drive.
Okay,
Ernest,
Andrew.
Why do these libs talk out of both sides of their mouth? I mean, look at it. She refused to acknowledge the outcomes for single moms.
not a
Pivots
lib.
immediately.
Let's be clear.
Hang on.
Let's be clear.
Immediately.
No, no, no,
Hang on.
no,
Shut
no,
up. You're
Immediately.
liberal.
Yeah.
You're
Look,
a liberal.
I'm sorry. If you have progressive talking points, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, I call it a duck. So the thing is, right, the libs on the panel very clearly, right, she evades the answer, refuses to give us the answer of if outcomes for children of single moms
forgot
are
to
worse,
pop meds.
refuses, gives us a bunch of qualifiers proving that they are, still refuses
Wrong
to do
meds.
it. He
I don't have
says,
the right
well,
meds
this
on
is
my
so
hot bar.
commonplace for men. Look at the sexual deviant that we have in the White House. And says, but I'm not throwing a fit about that. I'm not throwing a fit about that, though. Yeah, they did throw a fit about it.
Ineffective discussion. This man is just
It's an ineffective discussion.
Discussion. I would like you, I would just like you to actually answer the questions I ask you. Why can't you people
Ernest,
ever
you
do
said,
that?
I have a
So this
question
is
for
not
Ernest.
this show anymore, I guess.
I gotta change my
Ernest,
This is
you
not
said
this
there was.
show. Which show
Hold
is
on a
it?
second, guys. Ernest, you said there was a double standard. What are you, in your view, where is the double standard? Because I see a double standard here, but I think we
Okay.
see a different double standard.
Cool. So what I was saying was the double standard reaction, right? There is a lot of reaction because of what Charlize Theron said. I'm saying that I understand where that is coming from because we don't often see women like Charlize Theron on these platforms talking about their sexuality in this
But
way.
it's
at their
celebrated.
age.
Ernest, that's not true. But here's the difference.
I'm
Every
saying that
time
we're
a
not
man,
talking about
hold on a second. Every time a man says, a guy can't even say that he prefers younger women. He can't even say, well, you know what? I prefer younger women because of their fertility is better, because they're in their peak attractiveness, because I want to have a bunch of kids and it gives me more
What?
time without getting
all the time.
completely trashed.
If Brad,
The
if Brad
difference is
let's
that
be
when-
clear. Let's
hold
be
on a
clear.
second.
Hang on. Let's be clear. If Brad Pitt came out with an interview tomorrow on Uncensored, and I hope he does. If you're watching Brad, my show is always available to you. But if he was, and he said, do you know what? Just only last week, I had the most unbelievable sex with a hot 26-year-old, right? Do you think the reaction, Ernest, would have been widespread applause for this guy? Or would it have been, you dirty old man? No. I'm not saying that I feel that about Charlize Theron. I'm just saying that's the double standard, right? Leo DiCaprio gets mocked at every award show because he dates women half his age.
It's not like
Now
Charlize
it's
doing multiple.
Charlize Theron. Everyone's like, oh, this is amazing.
Piers,
A man
I can
would have
give
been
you
called a
example.
groomer.
I can give you an example where that backfired. So let me be very clear. So let me give you a good example of this actually. First of all, it's if it's a pattern, right? Charlize Theron is not doing this on the regular. That's why this is a big news story. She's been mostly in long-term relationships. She does not have a habit of doing this. Leonardo DiCaprio's entire a lot of his romantic history has been this pattern, which has become a running joke. The first couple years he did it, no one cared. But it's been decades, like over 10
That's
years.
not why
I messed up.
that's not why
And
it's a
that's
news
my
story.
thing.
With respect.
That's your opinion.
First of all,
That's your opinion.
First of all, both of those things have been covered in the news. But the reason, what Pierce is getting
I'm
at,
just
I
gonna
think, I
die.
don't want to put words in his mouth. This is
I need
being
a good opening.
celebrated. Do you understand the difference? Modern feminism has made it so that we now celebrate that Charlize Theron. And by the way, I don't give a lick, honestly. It's consensual. I don't care if she sleeps with a 26-year-old
And
or
by
an
the way, there
86-year-old.
are a lot of
I don't
26-year-old
care.
men who will be absolutely thrilled that she's on the cougar
That's
market.
correct.
I mean,
Right,
there will be.
and I don't care either.
one.
We can agree there. But I'm smart enough to acknowledge that she is being celebrated for that action, whereas
She's
a
probably
Leonardo DiCaprio,
lying.
or the average guy for that matter, just saying, "Hey, I prefer."
Is anybody
going to
mention that she's
to
probably a
32-year-old,
liar?
will get destroyed in every
I actually,
possible
you know what?
media.
I actually have
She's
no
probably
problem with what
sitting
she said
at
about
home reading
26-year-olds.
Murder,
It's
She
entirely down
Wrote.
to her. She's a single woman. She can have sex with who the hell she likes if it's consenting
Right.
adult. I
Brought to
do
you by
though
the
have a
new
problem
Chevy
with,
chair.
and Andrew was, I think, right about this. In a way, what she's saying is all your quaint ideas about you need a bloke around,
did I
you
say,
need a father,
Peirs?
you need a husband.
Oh.
That's all bullshit. Look at me. I'm proof it's all great.
When I do his name on my when I do shorts, his name is already I've typed it so much that I just start doing it and it just automatically does it. So now this is why spell check and autocorrect and autofill words makes people retarded. Yep. Proof. So I put Peirs. I before E except after C. Except in a whole bunch of situations. Lots of situations. I can't think of them right now.
I don't believe women when they say that. I don't believe men when they say the same thing. I just think that actually the ideal is that you have a man and woman around kids and they bring them up together. And if that isn't possible,
Yeah,
and it
when
doesn't
I don't-
work
I don't
out,
like when I
okay, you
misspell
make it work.
stuff.
But to actually try and
Also.
pretend this is actually utopia and this is the best possible thing for your kids, I don't think that's true. And I say that as a divorcee myself. I don't think this is ever actually the ideal, but you make it work as best you can. I want to switch gears to something which really did annoy me. Lily Allen, the pop star, former pop star, let's be accurate, talking about abortion.
Abortions, I've had a few, but then again, I can't remember exactly how many.
What, really?
What a nasty
Yeah.
bitch.
Why didn't this come up in last week's episode where we were just talking about abortions?
Because I was just letting you run with it.
Reveal everything.
I can't remember, yeah. I think maybe like, I want to say 4 or 5.
Yeah, I've heard about 5 too. Lily, I've never. I'm so happy
That's
I can
disgusting.
say that, and you can say it, and no one came to shoot us down.
No judgment.
No judgment. We've had about the same amount of abortions.
You know what, Taylor? I'm not going to judge them in the way they think I'm going to judge them. I'm not going to judge them for having abortions. I believe in a woman's right to choose what she does with her body.
Shut up, Pierce.
I know, and we'll come to Andrew's position on that. I think we know what it is, and I'll get your view. But the point is, Taylor, I'm not against abortion. I am against women that talk about it so glibly. I am against 2 women sitting there just brazenly talking in a very kind of slightly boastful way. We've had 10 abortions between us, and Lily Allen can't even remember how many abortions she's had. I don't like that aspect to what was going on there. I think it's distasteful. I think it trivializes abortion. Abortion, whether you agree with it or not, you should always treat it, I think, as a serious thing, which should be taken seriously and dealt with seriously. That, to me, was trivializing. Your thoughts?
Stop! Hit him!
Yeah,
Fuck!
I think that, I hear you, Peirs, and I take your point. I think that most women have a struggle with access to abortion, especially now here in America. And I think that normalizing the idea of having abortion is overwhelmingly a good thing.
Well, we shouldn't normalize the idea of having 5 abortions with 2 women there basically making out, oh, thank God we can talk about this now. Like, this is normal. That's not normal. That's 5 abortions.
It should be normal to have easy access to abortion. It should be.
I don't dispute that, but that's a political matter. That's a social matter for the women. But it's the way you talk about it, I think, is actually, for example, in America, where it's a really hot potato issue,
dude.
I can imagine everyone, I'll come to Andrew for what I think would be his response. I can imagine it. He'll be very angry because he doesn't agree with abortion to start with. To then see women, high-profile women like this, famous women, just talking about it in such a glib manner.
Because they want to restrict women's rights and they want to restrict women's access to healthcare. This is essential.
Abortion is healthcare to kill my baby.
That's what you're saying, but it is healthcare, yes.
It's
and
not
it's really
healthcare,
important
dumb bitch.
too. It's not ridiculous. It saves women's lives in many cases.
It kills
to have an abortion.
children.
And it's really hard for women to get access. And they feel a lot of shame around it because of the social stigma.
Does it sound, Taylor, does it sound to you?
I'm gonna go off of Russell from Abolitionist Rising. He's very knowledgeable on this stuff. He says that, and I wouldn't argue this because I don't know enough about like the medical stuff. But I said this to Mangoes. I said you're gonna have to get very specific on what medical situations you're talking about because as far as I know, that's not a thing. And Russell, Lila Rose, people who do know the medical stuff really well, they say that there's never a situation where it's a life-saving thing. Whenever they say that it's a for the life, saving the life of the mother, that's a lie. So I don't believe that.
You, like those women, feel a lot of shame around abortion? Is
No.
that what it sounds like?
The point is that many women are taught, and it sounds like you guys on this very panel want women to feel shame about it. And in fact, they should
I
not.
mean, you shouldn't be. Should you be proud of it? Is the point? I mean, let me bring Andrew in here. I mean, Andrew, I know your position on abortion, but notwithstanding that, it doesn't really concern me really whether people are for or against it. It's the way they're talking about it. High five. So let's
Yeah,
let's leave the argument about whether they.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
But it's totally self-centered and selfish. And look, she says, I'm not a lib. Women need to have more abortions. The thing is or have more access to abortions. The lives through her teeth. It's a healthcare procedure. Most women's lives, when they have abortions, has nothing to do with the life of them at all, their physical health at all. Total lies from the left. On top of that, let's just point out that what they're really doing there is they're sitting there going, I just like totally murdered 5 of my kids. And the other one's like, yeah, me too. Isn't that great, sweetheart? The other one's like, yeah, totally. That's it's so awesome that we can just kill our children.
Corner him. Come on, guys.
Normal people, we normal people hear. So anyway, we normal people hear this, like regular Joes, and of course we're disgusted by it. The fact of the matter is it just shows a complete and total lack of caring for humanity, lack of caring for children. This is supposed to be the more empathetic sex, and yet when they have power over vulnerable life, they kill it? Really? You're going to convince me that's the more empathetic, more vulnerable sex? Give me a break.
I just have one little.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just 2 things, right? I think that we can, some people feel like the way in which she went about discussing it was tasteless. I think that for people listening to it, I did. I think that there's a better, in my personal taste, right? I think there could have been a better way she could have said it, but that's just my personal preference. And I think that's just how she is with a lot of things. Lily Allen, I don't agree with a lot of things that Lily Allen says or how she says it per se. And I think that's the real thing here. However, what I think is important is that everybody's getting abortions. This whole libs, far left, far right stuff. I really get annoyed with that because it's almost as if you're acting like only one, like everybody makes decisions based on their political ideologies, and that's just so immature. And this obsession.
We can look at the.
It's almost like all the women who get abortions are actually libs. Men aren't getting abortions, and the women who claim to be conservative but they support abortion aren't actually conservatives. Dumbass.
The libs.
Yeah, we can look at the reproductive stats, and we know which political parties advocating for abortion.
Everybody's having abortions.
We know which political parties advocating for it, which ones not.
Men are having abortions, guys. Hold on, I'll be right back. Thank you, Nightbot, for the grift. Guys, hit up the Cash App. I'm doing more damage to him. I'm getting him below half health. I just have to stay consistent. I need to stop trying to be offensive and watch his movements. This is a grind.
Not.
I don't come with that. Like, I'm just saying, it's not for me, this is not a libs thing or whatever. It's really just a matter of taste. And that's what
But how could it not be
a matter of taste? I have a taste for murdering children.
All right, let Jedediah speak. Jedediah.
How could it not be? If liberals are the ones, I mean, just be honest, liberals are the ones that are promoting a pro-abortion culture. Liberals are the ones that are saying this should be celebrated. The word here, Ernest, hold on a second. The word here to be used is these women are celebrating.
What if you can create your own website by saying,
oh my God, the ad starts right when the fight starts.
You can't. First up, let's talk about AI color themes. You can get any combos you want.
I'm gonna die.
Bold and bright, minimalist and sleek.
Abortions.
The ad starts right when the fight starts. I just wasted all those pills. I'm going to use all my medicines on this fight.
These voices now. So an abortion is something, whether you believe it should be, it was supposed to be safe, legal, and rare. That was the idea when people were advocating back in the day. Pro-abortion advocates were saying safe, legal, and rare. Does this sound
If something is safe and legal, why does it need to be rare?
I have sex, I just run and get an abortion like I went to the dentist.
Healthcare shouldn't be rare. Access to healthcare shouldn't be rare. Access to healthcare.
Taylor, no one's talking about access. No one. You have access to a whole bunch of things in society. That doesn't mean you utilize them. These are women that are going into
when you stigmatize abortion,
like guns, right?
Like guns, right?
Shut up,
It leads to less abortion access.
Murder. When you stigmatize murder, it leads to less murder.
Yeah, but actually, Taylor, that argument works the other way because if you trivialize it and you look like you're slightly gleeful and you're very proud of having had 5 abortions, as both of them appeared to come over, and that's just the way we can judge them from that
was
clip.
weak.
They said don't be judgmental. Well, actually you can be when people are apparently trivializing it in the way they were. But I think my point is that the reason Andrew is so exercised is not just because he's anti-abortion, but here's exactly what he's been saying for a long time, which is a lot of women treat it like it's just another thing, when actually it's more serious. And I agree with that. Even though I support women's rights to have an abortion, no one should be like proud or gleeful or joyful or celebratory about it. It should. I just think the tone you use to talk about it should be serious.
Can you understand how that stigmatizing? Can you understand how that stigmatizing sort of framework would be used to restrict access to abortion? Saying, well, you're not, pious enough. You haven't repented enough. You're not sorry enough, so you don't deserve access. That is what is used to strip women's
Taylor,
rights.
it should be stigmatizing. It should be stigmatizing for women to talk about abortion like that. This is sick. This is your empowered women now out there saying, "Oh, I don't know. I had 4 abortions, 5 abortions, 6 abortions." Like you went for a root canal.
Come on,
I mean, listen. This is not the face of an empowered woman. This is pathetic. It's sad, and this is the product. Sorry to say, this is the product of modern feminism and what it has done to women. That now they weaponize.
This opening that I'm doing, I can get, if I get criticals, I can knock down half of his health. There's one other pill I can take. It's a legendary pill, but if I use it, I don't have any more. I only have one. And I don't know if I should use but I'm knocking down more than half of his health just in my opening. So this is the way we kill him. This is the way. Show me the way.
Their ability to kill, because that's my view. So I'm going to say it. They weaponize their ability to kill, and they expect society to put a big stamp of approval on it. And people like you do. I'm not doing it. I'm not condoning it. I'm not doing it. I'm calling it out. And if they feel stigmatized by their behavior, then so be it. Maybe that has more to do with their behavior, their crappy behavior, their sick, twisted behavior than it does by what I'm saying about it.
Okay, hold on. Wait. I just want to say this real quick. Let's be real honest here. Even if you did not, if you personally do not support abortion, you really think that it's a murder, there would be no way, quite frankly, that you want anyone to discuss it. So I think it's intellectually dishonest.
I don't want people to discuss it.
We're going to use this extreme of Lily Allen, which I do agree, right? I personally think that the way that Lily Allen discussed it was not the best way. But to be honest, for those who do not support abortion, which I do support a woman's right to choose, there would have never been a way for you to approve it. So you're using the most extreme
That needs to be a very late
as
dodge.
a way to now double down and justify every other belief that you have on this.
That's the dumbest thing. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. We talk about murder openly all the time. What are you talking about?
So why are we talking about Lily Allen?
Yeah, so what? We talk about things we don't support all the time. What are you talking about?
So here's what Chris Morgan and I are understanding. So let's make this make common sense. Peirce and I both.
Do you support the war in the Middle East?
Women's right to choose. I don't know, but I think we do. We both do not agree.
But you talk about it. So all the pro-Palestine protesters, they shouldn't be talking about
on this
so
episode.
Stupid.
You're not going to ever agree with this. So stop acting like Lily Allen is an example of all women who discuss having abortions, because it's not true. You just want to use it as an example to dismiss the case of abortions, period. And so that's
that's so good. Well, I see. Hang on. Let me respond. I see. What a genius argument. Yes, Andrew, you think that all murder and murderers are bad, so you're going to point at serial killers and say, see how bad that is? Great argument, genius.
When he gets away from my opener.
What a wonderful argument.
What's the point
you
of
haven't
having
responded to his argument, so clearly it's pretty good because you have zero
That
response.
was the argument. Do you understand that I can take things that are happening socially, point to the worst of them, even if I don't agree with them, to use that as an example of why it's bad. Why thing bad? Thing bad because look, you can see that why thing bad. Why do you not get this?
Right now. You're crashing out right now.
This is an extreme example.
You're crashing out. I hate that expression.
This is whether you like abortion,
is that an own?
Whether you support abortion or not, we're not making up this extreme example. This extreme example exists, and we're commenting on it because there were women all over the country, by the way, that will say things like, my body, my choice, who cares? Oh, yeah. And you know what? It's escalating down to other things like Plan B. People popping Plan Bs like candy now. This stuff is not being taken
that's
seriously.
great.
And the
So
bottom line is
genuine,
whether you
they've done it.
support
Yeah, that's a
abortion
good-
or not, this is a
This bitch is
serious
dumb.
matter. And the fact that we have women out there
How do these
talking
people
about
get
it like
on
a trip to the
panels?
dentist, that is a problem that we need to acknowledge.
Yeah, I
and figure out what's
I have to say, I agree with that. I don't think that the way they spoke about it did them any credit at all. And I think it actually, if I was somebody who was against abortion, that would have really enraged me to see people who have access to free and fair abortions because they're in a
I'm
country.
gonna run
that's
out of all
fine.
my medication.
But they talk about it in such a glib manner. I don't like it. Let's just change gears to something else, which is just struck me as a bit odd. So I think Taylor, you said earlier that women, about Charlize Theron, women don't get paid as much as men. In fact, it's just been revealed by the Hollywood Reporter, the Hollywood Bible, that the biggest grossing movie star ever is Scarlett Johansson, which I'm told, staggering though that may seem, and I'm a bit surprised myself because I've appeared in 10 movies as myself, and those movies have grossed $2.4 billion. So I'm a little surprised I'm not in the mix myself. However, she's bigger than Tom Cruise, bigger than Stallone, bigger than Schwarzenegger, bigger than all of them. And the reason apparently is the Avengers. She's been in the whole Avengers stuff, which obviously, and Jurassic Park and other huge grossing films. But she's moaning, as obviously, when you get an accolade like this, the person to do is to complain about it, that she's often been cast for sexist reasons. So Andrew, I'll come to you on this. When promoting, I think Jurassic Park, Jurassic Park Rebirth movie came out this weekend. So when I was younger, a lot of the roles I was offered or I went for had their ambitions or character arcs revolving around their own desirability or the male gaze or a male-centered story. That's less frequent, though. Something has shifted. I mean, this idea that we might go to the movies to look at beautiful people, that males may gaze at beautiful women, is this the most shocking bombshell of the week, Andrew?
Also, it's not just that. Like, how stupid to admit that out loud. Basically, aren't you just admitting that you were a skank for money? Like, if it was really a big deal, you're like, oh, God, at the male gaze, they're sexualizing me. It's all. Why would you take the role then? Just don't take the role. But apparently, if it pays good enough, she must not mind too much about that whole male gaze thing, huh? Because when it came time for her to collect those millions of dollars based on the male gaze, she definitely took the role. So I would like her to give an explanation for that. Male gaze bad, but I like to contribute to it as much as possible for money. Aren't you just basically admitting that you're a Hollywood prostitute at that point? Like, if it's a conflict with your values, aren't you selling out?
We had him at a quarter
for
health.
money, literally.
Well,
like,
Taylor,
how's
your
that not
eyebrows just
another
nearly
form of
exploded, so
prostitution?
clearly you don't agree with that.
Does your internet bill keep getting higher? That's because promo pricing is full of surprises. At Google Fiber, there's
I think it's just shocking the disgusting misogynistic way that Andrew.
Oh
can't
my
help but
God,
talk about
misogynistic.
women.
Why don't you try
I
misogynistic?
would say also,
You
by
mean
the way,
a woman?
no, women generally
A
seem
woman?
to have.
No, I'm sorry. It's not a monolith. If I can critique a woman,
God.
that's not critiquing
Let-
all
if
women.
you're not
You see how
letting
that
a
works?
woman
Speaking
right
all
now.
libs, the whole show.
Yeah.
All libs.
No, these libs. These libs are not all libs.
I'm
You see
not
how
a
that
lib.
works?
Oh my God, it's so crazy.
Oh,
how
yes,
you
you're
guys
a lib, lady.
Everyone that
Oh, yeah.
doesn't like, don't
You just so
like is a
happen to
lib.
be liberal on every social policy, but you're not a
Liberal.
liberal.
Liberals are hardly where I'm at on social issues. Anyway, my point is that Scarlett Johansson, Peirs, I don't know that I would classify that quote as moaning. What she seems to be talking about is just how her roles have changed over time. I would note that overwhelmingly women are paid less than men, even if the highest actress might be paid as a woman. But I think that what she's saying is. It's not a myth that women are paid less.
The
I'm
equal
sorry.
pay myth?
Yeah, it is.
Equal pay myth that we can, I mean, that's a whole separate conversation.
She's a feminist
I think in
lib.
Hollywood
Shut
now,
up.
it's pretty well equal pay, isn't it? If you get the big roles, I don't think.
Well, I think. I think
In music, most of the biggest stars now are currently women, aren't they? Beyonce, Taylor Swift.
Right, but
I mean,
if you
I don't know. I can't think of many industries where women are not actually paid at least or more than men.
Just because
The
there
big
are a
booty side.
few
Oh,
very
yeah.
high-paid women in entertainment industries doesn't mean that women across the board make more than men. And when you look at other industries like finance or tech or some of these other,
that's because listen, Taylor, this is nonsense. That's because of choices that women make. That's because of the number of hours that they work. That's because women take maternity leave. That's because guys work more hours and work harder. There's a whole bunch of reasons we can get into that relate to that.
We actually can adjust it for parity easily.
Can I make a comment about Scarlett, though, here for a second? Because I think what's interesting here is that, listen, she made all of her money being a sex symbol, right? She always had the boobs out. That's how she made her money. She made the decision to accept roles where, yes, she was, part of the male gaze, and that's how she made her fame. I find it really interesting, honestly, that she turns 40, she's older, and now all of a sudden she decides, oh, I'm going to negate all that. Could it be that maybe she's, the male gaze isn't looking at her in the same way anymore. She's not getting those roles anymore, and she's now realizing there's a younger woman on the block, there's a hotter woman on the block. Okay, I'm not getting those roles. So
and by the way, to complete the conspiracy theory, is that why Charlize Theron, at the age of 50,
is turning into a slut,
talking about banging 26-year-old guys? Could that be why? Is it to make Hollywood think I'm still hot and desirable?
I've still got it. I've still got it.
I've still got the young male gaze.
Of course, because there is an insecurity, and women don't like to talk about this, but there is an insecurity that arises in women, particularly in a beauty-driven industry. Hollywood is all about looks. It's all about the female gaze, the male gaze. You see,
it's misogyny that puts that pressure on women.
That's not hatred of women. Taylor, do you know what misogyny means? It means hatred of women. It is not hatred of women to talk about the reality that women, I'm a woman, I'm not a misogynist. Women get more insecure as they age about their looks when they're in a beauty-driven industry. That's why Botox exists. That's why filler exists.
Well, let me go to the expert on the panel when it comes to male gazes at beautiful women. Ernest, your thoughts on that?
Ernest?
No, I mean, to be honest,
seriously, is that a dude or a chick? His name is Ernest? That's a woman, I think. But I don't know. Sometimes the blacks are kind of hard to tell. That could just be a really feminine man. Ernest?
I think that two things can be true at the same time. People have the right to evolve. And also see things reflectively. What you doing?
People got the right to evolve. You can go ahead and evolve. Go ahead and evolve. They just went and go ahead and evolve. Everybody's saying go ahead now. Pay attention for it. You'll hear it. You know who does it a lot? Myron Gaines and foreign people. Go ahead and they just go ahead and where did this come from? Why is everybody saying go ahead and evolve?
When you're young age, I mean, heaven forbids. I mean, you all claim that you all don't support cancel culture, but a lot of you all would make the case that maybe she did at one point in time when she was younger, may have thought that's what she needed to do and that's how she got her career. But maybe years later, she can get older and reflect and say, hey, some of the stuff I did back then.
And by the way, Ernest, it's the same. It's the same with men, right? I mean, it's the same with male movie stars. When they cross a point where the female gaze moves from them to a younger, hotter model. It's exactly the same the other way around. You look at it all the time. Look at the hot movie male stars of 20 years ago. They're not there anymore.
Right, but the difference is, though, with those roles, that's actually not true all the way. A lot of these older men do get to evolve and date younger women.
They get to evolve into younger
women. I mean female moviegoers going to see male movie stars. The reason they go moves from the female gaze at a hot young movie star to something different when they get old. Right, so in other words, it works the same way.
Getting hit by everything.
But that's not the same. They can get arranged. But I think that happened with Scarlett Johansson. A lot of these actresses, that what you'll see with men is that they can do both. They can do the Oscar-winning Leonardo DiCaprio films, and they can also do the sex symbol films. And they can also do it simultaneously and still get the awards. Versus what we see with women in Hollywood, it seems to be a double standard where prestige films that they can be in and star in, oftentimes they don't get the chance to be the ingenue or play into the sex role. But if they do go that way, they can't have both ways. So Denzel can be both.
Let's do a poll, chat. Is Ernest a woman or a man? Is Ernest a woman or a man? Yes or no?
But Scarlett Johansson couldn't do both most of that. in the
Okay.
Yeah,
beginning
but
of
why? Okay, but why would you complain then? Why would you complain and say, "Oh, the male gaze is so terrible," and then take the role as a woman? Why would you take the role if the male
She
gaze
should
is such
just
a
own it.
problem
She
for money?
should
Wait,
just
that
own
quote
it.
she's not explaining.
Hang on,
That
hang on,
quote
hang on, hang on. I just hang on. Let him answer the question. Why is it that if you really saw this as a problem from a feminist view, the male gaze, as a female actress who's aspiring, why would you take the role? Aren't you just selling out for money, dude?
I mean, I'm not a woman, so I'm not the one taking the role. But I'm saying something like
Oh,
I was saying
Okay,
before.
Ernest just
Don't
answered.
Any questions? They just refuse.
No,
to
I'm
answer.
answering your question. Did you not let me finish? I'm answering your question. What I'm saying is that
Fuck, I wasted
at
the
end
white
of the day,
walking white.
It's none of these things. Like even the way that people vote for certain elected officials, it's never one size fit all. She has survival. She wanted to get her career. She want to do certain things. Does she have regrets? I don't know. But what I will say
So
is
she
that
sold out?
there's a lot of factors that people do when they make their decisions. Right? There's certain people where you don't agree with everything on all aspects, but you do some. And I think at a certain
It just
point,
seems,
that is
Ernest,
what
it
happens.
just, I hear what you're saying,
Everything
Ernest.
else,
It just seems
you
a
do it
little
too.
convenient, though. It just seems a little
Awful
convenient to
convenient,
make all
yes.
of your money off of being a sex symbol and an overt sex symbol. I mean, half naked, this, that. You make all your money that way. You should own it. She should be coming out and saying,
I totally
"Listen,
agree. I think
was
if
a
you,
sex symbol."
I think that the women I admire in the entertainment world are the ones who are smart but are unafraid to say, I use
Fuck,
my sex
man.
appeal and it makes me tons of money, as well as my smarts, as well as my talent. It's a whole package. Same with the guys, right? If you're a hot movie star who's got talent, you're going to make more money than an ugly one. So it's as simple as that. It's not fair. Life isn't fair.
Hollywood's not fair.
I want to end. This was a bizarre moment last week in the House of Commons here in the United Kingdom. So, just for background, we have a woman called Rachel Reeves, who is the first female Chancellor of the Exchequer. So, the second most powerful person in the British government, the treasurer, if you like, of the United Kingdom. And she did the one thing which I guess most women who had voted for her would have wished she hadn't done, which is that the weekly Prime Minister's questions with Sir Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, she was openly crying in the background. Now, this followed a very bad week for the government, a very bad week for her. One of the signature policies that had to perform a big U-turn on. She apparently been seen having a blazing row with some colleagues and with the Speaker of the House. She then came out the next day grinning like a Cheshire cat, a little too much for my credible belief, and said that there was a personal issue going on, the details of which have not emerged, and I suspect they won't. Andrew, the problem I have with this is that I think a lot of women will have felt let down, that you finally get a female Chancellor of the Exchequer, and within a few months she's crying in the most high-profile televised moment of each week in the House of Commons, and it looks like it's just because she had a bad week.
Well, gee, who could have predicted this? Who could have predicted that women who are in positions of power may act overtly emotional just based on, well, even the hormones in their body? I am so stunned. I'm shocked. I can't believe that women everywhere are stunned and shocked that women, when they become very emotional, begin crying. It's no shock to me, of course. No shock to anybody else on
Let
this
me ask
panel. Do I think
Jedediah.
that inside of your leadership,
Jedediah,
inside
as a
of your
woman,
leadership scale, you should.
All right, Jedediah, as a woman, are you comfortable with what you're hearing from Andrew?
Is Jedediah like an acceptable woman's name? I guess, but because her name is Jedediah, but Jedediah works for women and men. Is that like biblical? There's no.
I actually am comfortable with it, to be completely honest, because the truth is that men and women are different and we are emotional. And I kind of wear the fact that I have an emotional cycle that goes like this throughout the month, like we all do, like a badge of honor, because it's what makes me a woman. The thing is, you can't be in a leadership position and act like that. As an example, do y'all remember John Boehner? John Boehner was a disaster. He was always crying. So this is not exclusive to women. Let's just say that this can happen.
I totally
in men too, but
agree.
the
If this had
difference-
been, I mean,
but-
I think if it had been a man, a male Chancellor Exchequer crying, he'd have got whacked even more.
Well, that's the difference because if you remember, when
Howard
John
Dean got
Boehner
ran
did it,
out
there
for
were
a
memes.
scream. I mean, come on.
People were making fun of him all the time. He was the laughing stock. The difference is here, a lot of people jump and make excuses. Well, she had a bad day. Honestly, I don't care that you had a bad day. You're in a leadership position. I mean, the bond market had a sell-off because this woman was crying.
Yeah.
These have real ramifications. So I think what Andrew's getting at is, listen, men and women are different. And it does beg the question, if we are naturally more emotional, and we are by nature.
Women are not.
We are.
No, they're not.
Listen,
they
you.
are.
This bitch is
we are.
stupid.
All right,
Make
Taylor.
that-
Taylor, I have a question for you, Taylor. If Donald
silly,
Trump,
Taylor.
if Donald Trump's bottom lip began to tremble and he started crying on national TV, when he was addressing the Congress or something, I mean, come on, you'd absolutely murder him.
He's having tantrums every week.
Huh?
He's having emotional
He doesn't
meltdowns
cry.
every
He
week.
isn't
He will
crying.
not be
Give me a
crying.
break.
Not
He's not
that's not the
crying.
same thing.
Have you ever seen Donald
Wow.
Trump cry in public?
Okay, I'm not talking about crying. If he, listen, here's the thing. Andrew does not like women having any type of emotion outside of nodding
What?
their head.
What are you
shaking their
talking
head.
about? What are you
Listen,
talking
know
about?
that.
We,
He didn't
any
actually
woman-
say
It's
that.
it's not
He
that
said
anybody
he said
dislikes
women-
it. It's just that
Ernest,
it's a fact.
Hang on.
Hold on.
He didn't
If a woman
actually.
would've
Hang
been
on.
God,
Hang
these
on.
people are stupid.
Hang on. You're missing.
You just
Hang
said
on. Stop
she's
talking,
too angry
Ernest.
and too emotional.
Ernest.
I'm acting like Andrew right now.
You
I'm
missed.
giving
Hang
my
on,
time.
Ernest.
How
Stop
you
talking
acting
for a
like me?
moment.
You're acting like a
All
woman,
Andrew
bro.
said was women are more emotional. He wasn't surprised, right? He wasn't sort of damning women for being emotional. He just said they are more emotional. Do you dispute that?
Yeah, well, and she actually said no, they're not. How would you ever even dispute this? It's objectively true that the hormone functions that are inside of women are different than the ones that are inside of men. That is objectively true in general. Can you point to some women who are more? Hang on. Can you point to an outlier of some women? Hang on. I'm almost done. I'm almost done. Calm down. Calm down. Can you point to some women? Can you point to some women and say that they're more emotionally stable? Sure, but on average, women have far more emotional regularity than men do. In fact, they have one time of the
All right,
month. they're famous
Taylor,
for.
Taylor, would you say you're more emotional than your male colleagues when you worked with men?
Oh gosh, I've worked with men that have cried in my arms, and it's so funny for Andrew to say this.
Yeah,
As
right.
Andrew
Those aren't men, honey.
Andrew is the one that is proud out.
There you
Andrew is
go.
the one that is losing his mind on this panel, screaming and shouting and making fun and
I
doing
haven't
all these.
screamed and shouted at anybody. What are you talking about?
Please
Do you
roll
think
the
that,
tape
like,
back.
if you just assert lies, that people who watch this aren't going to be able to
Right
see that they're
now,
clearly lies?
Right now, shouting over me. Listen to this. This is
He's
crazy.
shouting?
I have
That's not
absolutely no
shouting. That's not
Well, Taylor,
shouting.
let
What are you
me
talking?
ask you
I
this,
think those
because
root earrings
woman
are
to
hurting
woman.
your brain, lady.
We can do this for a second, woman to woman, Taylor, because I will say to you, Taylor,
Andrew speaks, therefore shouting.
there is no question about it that when you look at Taylor, when you look at a man, his testosterone is pretty steady. His whether you like it or not, his hormones are steady. That's what comprises a man. When you look at our hormones, they do this naturally. That's why we have a cycle.
Fuck, dude.
That's why
Whenever
we
I
have
miss the
beautiful
opening.
gift of being able to make babies. That's what makes women women. So yes, there can be an outlier over here and there. John Boehner, I use the example of John Boehner, but it's very, very safe to say that in general, women are more emotional than men. And that does beg the question then, if women are in leadership roles where there are serious ramifications like a bond market sell-off, if that woman is seen crying, is that a good look overall for the country? The answer is no. Now, we can sit and have a debate over whether women should be in positions of power or not, but we can't have a debate over whether women are more emotional, because hormonally, that's just a fact.
Taylor?
Not her, but her colleagues are crying in her arms, though. They're crying in her arms.
I mean, yeah, I had a colleague that cried after something horrific happened.
That's
I mean,
not
we
what
witnessed.
you said. You said that I've had men. You made it sound like men were coming to you and falling to pieces, and they were
No,
more
I
emotional.
said
Yeah.
I said I had a male colleague cry in my arms. I've witnessed somebody die in front of my face at my job because
And
I'm
do
a
you
nurse.
think, though,
that's
that
not the
men
same
are more
thing.
emotional? Yeah, I know. It's so ridiculous
Absolutely
for straw
it's
mans.
the same.
Is it the case that you, when you work with other men, that you're generally more emotional than them or not? That's the question.
Listen to you crash out. Talking
Well, I
about
don't know
more
why
Come
you
on.
won't why can't you answer
But
the
is it
question,
true?
lady?
Just answer it.
shouting like a little
Yeah, just
child.
yes or no. You're crashing
I-
out. Oh my God, you're crashing out. I don't know how to answer questions. Oh my God, just answer the question, lady.
Talking about how women are more emotional as you are.
Are
literally
you more emotional than your male colleagues generally or not? Can you answer yes or no? That would be great.
Are we going to get on
Are
this?
you ever going to answer the question?
To say, I answered it many times to say once
Okay,
again.
so yes or no would be great.
You cannot. You're like a little petulant child.
Yes or no?
You're
Yes or no?
screaming and making these silly
I'm not
voices.
screaming. I'm
He's at less than a quarter health.
Me talking is not
is it yes or
screaming,
no?
you ignoramus. Yes or no?
I think look at the example right here on this panel. That Andrew is absolutely
Still not
losing
answering the
his-
question, lady. Answer the question,
Women
lady.
are not
Answer the
inherently
question,
more-
lady.
See how you keep calling me lady? You won't call me by my name
Just
because
answer
you
the question. I don't remember your name. Why am I supposed to remember your name? Answer the question. Can you
Anyway,
answer
my
the question?
This is crazy. Women are not
Yes or
inherently.
no?
Women
Fuck.
are not
They're not, you're
inherently.
saying,
They're not the,
so you're
the-
not just
Women are
honoring biology.
inherently angry.
Oh,
That's
by
what
the
she's
way.
saying. Are you not hearing what she's saying?
It's not-
You want her
yeah.
to speak the way you want to speak, but she
Wait a
answered your
second, I'm
question.
sorry.
All right, let me ask Taylor a
He's
different
very
question.
low
Hang on,
health.
Hang on. Taylor, let me ask
Answer
Taylor.
the
Let me ask
question I
Taylor.
didn't ask her.
Taylor, in relation to Rachel Reeves crying in the House of Commons, did she let the sisterhood down? Would it have been better
No.
for her to hold
I
it
can
in?
answer that question. No.
Ernest, you're not called Taylor.
Hold
Taylor,
it. Look at that. They can answer questions. Yes.
Taylor?
Ah, fuck!
This
I had
man
him at
just screeching.
much health.
Anyway, I will say
Yeah,
that I
everyone
think
talking is
It's
screeching.
doable, boys. It's doable.
Are
Everyone-
screeching.
When you're talking, you're screeching.
But I have to
just
go.
listen to this. How this guy thinks he's like
Oh my
running the
God!
panel.
Oh my God! Clutch your
One
pearls
more try
harder,
and I gotta
lady.
go.
Just answer
It's
the questions
doable.
you're asked.
It's so funny how you
Would
continue.
you
I'm
like
gonna
me
pop
to
the
mail you a
legendary
pearl
potion.
necklace so you can tug it when we're on the panel next time?
Oh,
Oh,
the one
I never. Oh, I can't believe it. Oh, how I'm treated is so terrible. Just answer the
Listen to this
questions. And then you
meltdown
won't
that
have this
this guy-
problem.
Piers,
Oh,
can
it's
I
a
have the
meltdown
opportunity?
now.
Okay, Taylor, answer my question, Taylor.
Yes, absolutely. So I think that basically, generally, I take your point that any politician that shows emotion is often, or sadness rather, like crying, is often stigmatized for it. But women are
I think
stigmatized.
so to be clear, I think it depends on the circumstance, right? So if there was a terrible event,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
and a prime minister or a chancellor came out and got emotional talking about a terrible national tragedy, of course. No one's going to ever think anything other than that's a human emotion. I think the feeling here was that things had just got on top of her. It'd been a bad week at work. She'd had a few rows before she came out, and she just lost it in public. And it was that upset other women in particular who went, come on, you're the first female chancellor. Don't do this to us.
Well, because again, women are held to this really, really intense standard. And so, yes, any sort of display of emotion like that is going to be weaponized against them by people like this man or whatever who's on the panel who can't stop shouting. But I will say that, this idea that male leaders are not emotional, here he is talking over me right now.
Well, I mean, you can't help but talk about me every
oh
5
my
seconds.
gosh, who is
What do you
that?
want me to
Listen
say?
to this. I
You
want
can't
to
reference me and then say I'm not allowed to
Taylor,
respond.
women,
You can't
Taylor,
be
to
like
reference
this.
something that you said. Taylor, to reference something that you said.
Hang on, I want to hear Taylor answer the question. Taylor.
To finish my point, I will say that men, this idea that male leaders aren't emotional, I think is just completely wrong, because I think they're emotional in different ways. Society stigmatizes different forms of emotion in men. The way that a lot of men express their emotion as political leaders is anger. And what Ernest was talking about earlier of Donald Trump being erratic, irrational, emotional, he is extremely emotional. We have plenty of male leaders who are highly emotional, and they might not be crying, but I would say that they're very intense
All right,
emotions do have significant
do it
political
today.
and economic consequences. So I think it's good to destigmatize emotion, but let's not act like there's not sexism here.
And let's also give you credit, Taylor. You probably had a harder time from Andrew Wilson in the last hour than Rachel Reeves got from her colleagues, and you haven't cried. So I think that should be acknowledged.
I'm here.
Well, I mean, give me another hour.
Please, you just whine and whine and whine.
You know, I think
So the whole thing is like, you can see even on this panel, holding women accountable is basically impossible. They don't even answer questions.
Dude, I got so
How many
close.
questions? And she answers every question except the one we asked her. Just reframes the entire debate.
That fight where I got him down to just a little sliver of life, I missed my first shot. For some reason, sometimes that first heavy hit hits and sometimes it doesn't. The timing for when you got to start it is crazy, because if you start it too late, he jumps back and you miss. But if you start it too early, you just miss because you're too far away. So there's like a little sweet spot where you got to let it go to hit him. If I would have hit him with that first heavy attack, we might have had a chance. Plus, I've used up all my good medicines. Scorpion's a cheater.
Every time. You would have had a way less hard. It would have been way less hard for you if you would have just actually answered anything we asked you.
Simply cannot. You'll note, by the way, you'll note how he speaks to me. He doesn't give me the courtesy of speaking with my name. He's been mocking.
You called me this man. What are you talking about?
Yeah, finally.
Yeah, what do you mean? Am I going, oh my God, she called me this man. Oh, she's so disrespectful. Oh.
With this disrespectful voice. It's really something to watch. And I think when we're talking about emotion and we have a man on this very panel who can't help but do these strange little voices and interrupt every 2 seconds and get mad that he's
What
not.
I find interesting, can I just say, Taylor, what I find interesting, hold on a second.
She called him misogynistic. Dude, I swear this is a JS original and some people need to start using it. Whenever a woman calls you misogynistic, just tell her to try misogynistic.
1 second.
Lady.
What I find interesting about this panel is that, Taylor, you chose, to be honest, you chose to talk about sexism and to say, well, women have, an unfair advantage in this and they're stigmatized in that, and to go after Andrew, when in fact, I've been saying a lot of the same things that he's been saying, but you chose to make it about sexism. You chose to make it an easy target. Hold on.
I guess he has a wife, so maybe he can't say that.
But it's an easy target. It's an easy target to say the man on the panel. The bottom line is that women. Taylor, here's the bottom line.
Hey, ma'am, why don't
If you want to be treated as an equal to a man, then it can't always be sexism this or misogyny.
Nobody's saying that all those on the panel are sexist. They're saying that this guy, Andrew, will not.
It's approach. Hold on, let me. No, I would just say this. It's
Destigmatize emotion, except Andrews.
But instead of trying sexism, just answer the questions, right? We can
just answer the question.
As women.
Respectfully, if you listen,
here comes the
tone policing. It's about gender because there's 3 men on this panel. It's about approach. None of us have called Taylor out of panel. None of us are berating her. You see how he's disrespecting me, and I have even went there.
But what I'm saying to you, Ernest, as a woman, instead of crying sexism, I'm not going to sit here and cry sexism or cry misogyny when somebody comes at me. I'm going to answer the question and I'm going to come back with facts.
Okay.
So that's all I'm saying.
You aligned yourself with Andrew.
Okay, this is giving me a headache in 1.5 speed, but I need to go.
So let me say
I'm not aligning myself with anyone. I gave you my opinion.
And that's why you will never say sexism because the other men on this panel agree with you. I don't agree with you on a lot of
Gay
things,
guy's
and I
like
respect
really
you. That's why
gay.
you can't say sexism. The other 2 men, Peirs disagrees with Taylor, but Peirs is not disrespecting Taylor, and she's not calling him sexist.
Listen, Andrew can defend himself.
It's disrespectful to purposely obfuscate and avoid the questions you're being asked. That is not respect. That is a form of the greatest form of disrespect, not tone, dude. Refusing to answer the questions you're asked, that's what's disrespectful.
And doing all of these silly little voices and refusing to call me by my name and just by basically throwing a little temper tantrum.
Why don't we try and end on a happy note? I want Andrew and Taylor to end by saying something nice about each other to each other. Andrew, you go first. Something nice about Taylor.
He's alive. That's something nice. He's alive. He's alive.
Andrew, something nice about Taylor.
Well, I mean, it doesn't look like she's going bald. I think that's good.
Taylor, something nice about Andrew.
A lot of women in that age bracket go bald. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe it's all plastic. I don't know.
I can't say the same thing for Andrew's hairline, but I guess he has a nice.
It's nicer than your hairline.
Come on, Taylor, one compliment.
Nicer than your hairline.
Well, now here he is negating what he just said about my hair. Peirs, I don't think Andrew is capable of saying something.
So you can rise to a higher place, Taylor. Say something nice about him.
I said I liked his shirt. I think he's got a nice shirt on, and that is really something.
Yeah, we like flannel.
On that happy note, we will leave it. Thank you all very much.
All right, that was fun. We got so close, guys. It is doable. We can do this. We can beat this freaking boss, but not tonight. We can't. So I'm going to go. Let's see if there's anybody I can send you over to. Is Easy live yet? He said he was going to be streaming tonight. Lower class, gutters, pub, speakeasy. It says he's live. All right, cool. We'll send you there. All right, later, guys. God bless. Thank you for hanging out. I will see you later. I got to go to work. Send some cash apps. Make sure you hit the like button, all the good stuff. We out. Peace.